build a strong and better nation. I say that is the main foundation. So come let us go hand in hand, because this is our land. Come my brother, come my sister, and let us build a nation together. This also goes for every, instead of staying out there and freezing. Because now, more than ever, we must show discipline, tolerance, and production.
Yes, indeed, now more than ever, we must show discipline, tolerance, and production. Grenada, Carriacou, and PT Martinique need all of us to do more, to develop, to transform, to improve our communities, to improve the lives of our family members and friends. We could do it. In fact, let me say like Nike, just do it. Because I know we have in us the willpower, the determination to do it and to get it done. I want to encourage those on Facebook and YouTube, please share the live. Sharing is caring. I want to start off by playing a piece with the Honorable Adrian Posuida Thomas. He's doing an excellent job as Minister of Culture. So he visited a number of the studios where the soca are produced. And he really had a nice engagement with those producers and folks in that industry. And I want to feature that first today. All right, so let me just...
Minister for Culture, Honorable Adrian Thomas, visited Sun Island. The visit served as platforms for candid discussions with producers about the challenges they face and explored potential avenues for government intervention. Minister Thomas attentively listened to these concerns, acknowledged the pivotal role of government in facilitating and enabling the environment for cultural production. Senator Thomas spoke of the producers' dedication to their craft. He said that he sees the significance of government assistance to the producers, which in turn helps build the music production landscape.
I'm happy to see that the young guys are putting all the effort and the resources. I mean, I asked the question to all of them where the money come from. And there is no loan, there is no gift. It's all hustle and plow into that business. And at the end of the day, you have contributed significantly to the music industry in Grenada. And I may be specific, the music for Carnival. I mean, this is what makes Carnival, and it will be amazing to know that the contribution that you all guys are making with little or nothing. And I think the recognition, you all deserve it. In going forward, I would like to see Grenada music improve. If you all improve. Grenada music improve. Yeah. And we can make an impact and create the conditions like what music has done for Trinidad and Jamaica. I think you all are heading in the right direction. So as a government, we are very, very interested in developing the creativity of our people. And the fact that you all didn't sit down and wait on government to do anything, it's all ours well for the future. And hence the reason why we must come forward and assist the people who has taken the initiative on their own. And it shows that you all guys are serious about it. It shows that you all guys love what you're all doing. I ask where you're working, and most of you all smile and tell me, well, it's not a work per se, but it's something that you all have fun of.
Senator Thomas was accompanied on the visit by Mr. Orlando Romain, advisor in the Ministry of Planning and Economic Development with responsibility for ICT and creative economy, and Mr. Wilt Cambridge Talpri.
Right. So that's a very, very good move there, because you know, the soca artists, the Calypsonians, they put a lot of resources, time, effort into producing, into getting that song that you would listen online, on YouTube, on radio, or via your different, music platforms. They put a lot of effort and time and resources into getting that finished product. So it's really good that the minister is engaging them, visiting their studios, seeing what they do on a daily basis, and how government can help to enhance that production, that studio, help the artist, because without them, all the millions and millions and millions and millions that we make from Carnival, it would not be possible. So I really love to see that, and I want to applaud the Honorable Adrian Persuader Thomas for, really doing what he loves, culture, being with the artists, listening to them, helping them. Because remember, Adrian Persuader there is his Calypso name. So yes, it's Adrian Thomas, Adrian Persuader Thomas. So he has Calypso in him. Don't forget that at all. So I want to commend him. I want to applaud him for doing just that. The police officers here in Grenada who went to St. Lucia. Remember when St. Lucia had that crisis with crime and gang violence and so on, number of police officers who left Grenada to join the regional team, the regional task force that were actually going in there to put peace. And they were awarded only recently, and I thought I should feature that too, because I think we have some really good police officers doing their job here in Grenada. Carriacou and Petit Martinique, yes, you will find one or two rogue elements, but generally speaking, the police officers here in Grenada, they're doing a fantastic job, and they're trying their best.
10 officers from the Special Services Unit, or SSU, of the Royal Grenada Police Force were awarded on Thursday by the Regional Security System medals for their outstanding service. In March 2023, members of the Special Services Unit were deployed to St. Lucia to support efforts in combating criminal activities. Honorable Philip J. Pear, Prime Minister of St. Lucia, requested support from the Executive Director of the Regional Security Systems Headquarters and the Chairman of the Council of OECS Ministers. Both the Chairman and Executive Director reached out to member state law enforcement units. Officers from the RGPF's Special Services Unit were a part of the RSS contingent. Commissioner of Police Don McKenzie commended the officers for their voluntary commitment to the mission.
The deployment to St. Lucia was pretty much based on a voluntary. It was voluntary. And so nobody was actually, it was voluntary, and it speaks to itself. But I remember volunteering many moons ago to Haiti. And it went back into my mind. What are some of the things that go along into somebody volunteering? And the top of the list is that you have to believe in what you're doing. You have to believe. And these people believed in what they were about to do. They believed in the mission.
He emphasized the significant impact each individual officer made during his deployment. Commissioner McKenzie said that the feedback from various sources of the officers' work is highly commendable.
Every individual who is deployed, they make a sacrifice. Top of the list is that of the safety. Yes, top of the list is that of the city. The risk is elevated. The equipment is not that of a first world country, so there are constraints. But in spite of that, the mission was more important than the constraints. And as such, the the mission, the constraints were secondary or even non-existent. They were deployed there and they made a difference. The feedback coming from my St. Lucia counterpart is that you made a difference. And the feedback coming from RSS through testament to the presentation of my dolls suggests that you made a huge difference.
Petal Rush, Senior Planning Officer in the Ministry of National Security, presented the awards to the officers. She congratulated them for a commendable job.
I am pleased to inform that the Council of Ministers, at a meeting held on the 23rd of March 2023 in St. Lucia, agreed to award the Regional Security Systems Medal to the members of the RSS Security Forces who served in humanitarian and disaster response operations for a period of 14 days or more. Therefore, this award today is a tangible demonstration of the Council's commitment in fulfilling its obligations. From all indications, the officers who will be awarded here today have served beyond the call of duty and have demonstrated commitment, humanitarianism, and compassion in the execution of their duties. On behalf of the Prime Minister, the Honorable Dickon Mitchell, and the Chairman of the RSS Council of the Ministers, I am pleased to present these RSS medals to the 10 officers who served for more than 14 days.
15 officers were awarded. The 10 awarded today served for a period of 14 days or more. The others will be awarded subsequently.
Right, so that's a good move. It's always good to show appreciation and thanks and congratulations to the officers. I want to go back a bit on this whole Polish gentleman's money transfer, because I think some people getting it wrong, because I think there is a vast difference between an NNP supporter and an NDC supporter. The way the NDC supporter thinks is totally different from an NNP supporter. And case in point is this Polish gentleman who wanted a diplomatic passport, engaged the NNP administration, and they agreed to give him a diplomatic passport, and he had to pay a certain amount of money. We know, based on the evidence, that a total of $150,000 US, $150,000 US was transferred to the consolidated funds. So government account, government coffers. So the government collected $150,000 US. But we also know that that same Polish gentleman who wanted that diplomatic passport transferred $140,000 US into the South St. George, or the NNP South St. George Grand Dance account. So it is very clear that this Polish gentleman wanted a diplomatic passport. So he engaged the NNP administration, whoever their contact was. But remember, initially, the NNP stated to the Grenadian people that they don't sell diplomatic passports. They don't trade in diplomacy. So we discovered a number of things, right? We discovered a number of things, and one of them is that the NNP was actually lying to the Grenadian people. The NNP administration was actually lying to the Grenadian people because they were actually trading in diplomacy. They said, no, we do not sell diplomatic passports, but we discovered by this transaction that they were engaging in the selling of diplomatic passports. Here you had this Polish gentleman who wanted a diplomatic passport, and they told him, yes, you can get one, but you need to pay this amount of money. But here it is. The Polish gentleman transferred 150,000 US into government account, the government of Grenada's account. It went into their bank account. So they collected that, 150,000 US. But what was strange, the same Polish gentleman transferred 140,000 US into the NNP South St. George Grand Anse St. George, the address, account. Right? But here it is. An NNP supporter will have no problem with that. So an NNP supporter would have no problem with that money being transferred to the NNP South St. George bank account. Right? They have no problem with that. In fact, what they would say, just as their leader, they would say, well, where is the cabinet conclusion? Which shows this amount was meant for the consolidated fund or government account. So they have no issue with this Polish gentleman wanting a diplomatic passport, transferring 150,000 US into the government of Grenada bank account. He wanted a diplomatic passport. So the NNP supporter has no problem with the NNP administration selling a diplomatic passport, making a person a diplomat by selling a diplomatic passport to that individual. They have no problem with that. An NNP supporter, no problem. You can sell these things, they don't care. They also do not have a problem with this same guy who wanted a diplomatic passport, transferring 140,000 US. And if you're doing the conversion rate, let me tell you how much EC that is. Because it's important that you understand how much money that was transferred. So 140,000 times 2.68. That's 375,200 EC. That's almost $500,000. In fact, it's just shy of $500,000 by what? 125,000 EC. So 300, and if you use the rate of 2.67, maybe we can do that. 140,000 times 2.67. That's $373,800. Right? That's a lot of money. So this Polish guy transferred $370 plus $1,000 into a party account, into the NNP South St. George account, bank account, right? And to the NNP supporters, nothing is wrong with that. The NNP supporters are not concerned about that at all. But what the NNP supporters are concerned about is the cabinet conclusion, which showed, or which will show, the amount that the government of Grenada supposed to collect. So then they turn around, they say, well, the Prime Minister lying. The Prime Minister lied to the nation. That is what they turn around and saying, because an NNP supporter is not concerned about a diplomatic passport being sold. An NNP supporter is not concerned about some Polish guy who doesn't know the NNP or the NDC, right? He doesn't know about this bank account until somebody tell him that is where they have to transfer the money. This thing is clear. The guy doesn't even know Grenada, right? But to the NNP supporter, they have no problem with 140,000 US, 375 or so thousand EC going directly into the bank account of a political party, the NNP South St. George account, right? They have no problem with that. To them, that's all cool. But an NDC supporter, on the other hand, is different. NDC supporters believe in transparency, good governance, accountability. The NDC supporters, they're against corruption. They believe in honesty. They believe in decency. It's just totally different. If you compare the NNP supporter to the NDC supporter, totally different. What is wrong for a normal person is right for an NNP supporter. Totally different. But I'm making this to say we are dealing with two different type of people. You have one who love corruption. They love corruption. In fact, they breed corruption. They encourage corruption for 20-something years, 23 years and a half. A person being corrupt for an NNP supporter is all cool, it's all okay. They have no problem with that. That is why in 23 years and a half, there were a lot of people who got rich overnight from taxpayers' money. They got rich very quickly under the NNP administration, a selected few, and they could care less. They get rich and they forget about the other people. So you have a situation where if you look at NNP, you see 5% of the people rich and 95% poor. Very poor, living in poverty. It's just totally different, you know. An NNP supporter versus an NDC supporter. An NDC supporter is concerned about honesty, is concerned about transparency, good governance, accountability, decency. That is why the NNP supporters put up with this level of rulership that existed among them. The conduct of the individual who rules them, they put up with that, they accept it. When he goes in the public domain and accuse teachers of X and Y, accuse nurses and doctors of X and Y when he gets on in all kind of vulgar manner, disrespecting everybody, saying all kinds of stuff. They love that. The NNP supporter, they love that. That is why this guy is able to do all these things and still be regarded as leader for life within the organization. So I am making this point because it is important that you understand the two types of supporters, right? And excuse me, how different they are. They are totally different. So you have a situation where Grenada was held back for 20-something years. When the NNP came into power, they dismantled the public works department, where you had people, gangs and so on, working with government, fixing roads, maintaining the roads and so on. What the NNP did, they dismantled it, and they gave their supporters, in many instances, a contract where they were paid hefty sums to do a similar work. And then you had contracts given for everything, trucking, labor, everything. And government now suffered because the trucks just, went flat, and then they just auction it, sell it, the equipment and everything, just sell it out to their colleagues and friends. And then they turn around and they give them the contract to do the same work that government was actually doing. By now, government would have had capacity, people able to build the roads and fix the roads and patch the roads and so on, right? Then you had the asphalt plant. Instead of repairing it and fixing it, what they did, they just mash it up, cut it up, and then gave who and who the opportunity to bring in their own. And then government now goes and buy from them. And they can't supply the demand of the country. That is what was happening over the many years. Then they decided they're not going to employ people permanently. They're going to put them on contract to do the same work. So you had a situation where people were retiring without a pension, without gratuity, and they have no safeguards. So the whole public service started going into the wrong direction, right? So still, to an NNP supporter, that's all cool. They supported that kind of thing, where you had a public service in a public service, where you had the public works department being, dismantled, mash up, and then they just give people contracts to do this and do that. So there are a group of people. There are a group of people who are getting very rich while the country was suffering in the medium to long term. That is why we are in this mess that we are in today. Look at the condition of some of the roads, and it will take government millions and hundreds of millions of dollars to fix it. And you see a similar situation in nearly everything in the country under the NNP. So you have to understand the NNP supporter versus the NDC supporter. Look, the NDC came into power, they paid pension and gratuity. When the NNP was in power, they did not pay the pension and the gratuity. Different. The NDC supporter is happy with that. They love to see that. The NNP supporter could care less. In fact, their ruler condemned it. Said, well, look, if you pay it, you go crush the economy, go break up, everything go fall apart. Right? The NDC came into power, they paid the doc salaries back so that we can have, extracurricular activity the sports and everything like that, science fairs and so on, the NNP, they criticize it. They say, no, don't pay it. Right? The NNP took it from them. The NNP administration took that from the salaries of teachers and public officers. Just totally different. The two supporters, they are different in many, many, many ways. So I am saying we have to understand the NNP supporters, because when you go around in different constituencies or villages, the NNP supporter is looking for handout, looking for you to come and give them some money, give them some material, give them some food, give them something. But the NDC supporter would come to you for a work, because they want to work to earn their daily bread and not be dependent on you, the member of parliament or so. But the NNP supporter will come begging you for $100, begging you for $50, begging you for $1,000. And if you don't give them, they bitter with you, they angry, they have all kind of bad things to say about you. It's just totally different. Totally different. And I am saying it is important that you understand the two supporters, because the NNP supporters, they would constantly be calling radio programs and complaining that things are hard. They would complain that, they ain't getting work. They would complain about all these kind of stuff. But if you offer them a job, they don't want it. They want the money, but not the job. The NNP supporter. If you say to them, well, look, there's a job available, you can work and buy your material to fix your house. They don't want that. They want the material free. They want the money free as the NNP supporter. And the majority of NNP supporters, they live in poverty in this country. The majority of them. Because the NNP make sure, the NNP administration make sure that they keep them poor. Because when you're poor, you depend on aid and assistance from the politician. And if the politician decides they're not giving you, then you stay hungry, or you stay naked, or you stay without a roof over your head. But if you're loyal to them, if you go to all their political meetings, if you go to all their events and so on, and you suck up to them, then you get those things. That is what the NNP administration was actually doing these people for all these years. And it will take some time for that to change. It will not change just so, because as I go around the country, you see the two difference. You see the difference, right? You see an NDC supporter who would not come and beg you for anything. But the NNP supporter would beg you for everything and anything. It's just different, totally different. But we must understand both of them. Because as you govern, you will encounter them consistently so within the constituency, within the communities. So that is why when they go on radio and they bawling, crying, screaming, complaining, the majority of them, they're NNP supporters. They are not able to go to the party office and beg for money, beg for this and beg for that anymore. It's a different ball game now. They have to work for it. And that is giving them real problems and causing real headache for those NNP supporters. You have to understand them. You have to understand them. And I gave you a typical example today. This Polish gentleman, do you know where Poland is located? In the Caucasus states, more or less, of Russia, right? In Europe. So the Soviet had controlled all those areas. But Caucasus means that they break away. They break away from the Soviet Union and so on, and they became a nation by themselves. But that's deep in Europe. This guy doesn't know Grenada. This guy never been here in Grenada. This guy had encountered somebody who was close to the NNP administration. And they trick him into believing that they're going to sell a diplomatic passport for him. While they were telling Grenadians that they don't sell diplomatic passports, they don't trade in diplomacy, they were actually doing that in a big way. But any reasonable thinking person would sit down and say, but wait, you tell this guy you can sell him a diplomatic passport. This guy believes that he can get a diplomatic passport if he pays $150,000 into government coffers, right? The government bank account, 150,000 US, and you then say to him, transfer 140,000 US into some political party account. But in his mind, he will get this diplomatic passport once he pays that money. In total, that's 290,000 US. That's a lot of money, right? But I am saying to you, any reasonable person would put a question mark over that. They would say, but wait, this guy doesn't know Grenada. He's not a member of any of the NNP office, much less South St. George NNP office. He's not a member of anything there, right? Yes, we know people can give campaign contributions and so on. We know that. But it's kind of strange that a person who wants a diplomatic passport transfers 150,000 US into government bank account and also transfers 140,000 US into the NNP South St. George bank account. But the NNP supporter sees nothing wrong with that. In fact, they are not even talking about that. They don't want to hear anything about that. All they want is for the Prime Minister, for our beloved Prime Minister, to show them the cabinet conclusion that speaks to that amount of money going towards a diplomatic passport. And even if he shows them that diplomatic passport, that cabinet conclusion, then they would come up with something else. They would say, okay, because in the first instance, remember they were saying that no money was paid. This thing does not exist, right? But when the Prime Minister, when the government release to the public documents showing that the Polish gentleman transferred 150,000 US into government bank account and 140,000 US into the NNP South St. George account, then they move away from saying, well, it doesn't exist, or we didn't get no money, we didn't collect no money, and that kind of stuff. They move from that to then say, show us the cabinet conclusion, which showed that it's a 290,000 US that's supposed to go into the government bank account, right? And then they start accusing our beloved Prime Minister of lying. So they're no longer concerned about $140,000 US dollars going into a party bank account. How is it possible that this Polish guy would give 140,000 US and transfer that into a party account, a political party account? How is that possible? When he wanted a diplomatic passport. So he transferred $150,000 into government bank account, but 140,000 US also he transferred into the NNP South St. George bank account. How is that possible? You're saying to me that this guy, is giving genuinely the NNP 140,000 US into their bank account in South St. George, as though he knows about the NNP, as though he's giving this thing as what? Campaign contribution? Just like that? When indeed he wanted a diplomatic passport, when he was promised a diplomatic passport, and he paid 150,000 US into government coffers for that diplomatic passport. A diplomatic passport costs just 150,000 US or 290,000 US. And why did you say to the Grenadian people, you are not trading in diplomacy, you don't sell diplomatic passports? And then we discovered that the NNP administration was indeed selling diplomatic passports. But to the NNP supporter, they don't care about that. They want to accuse our beloved Prime Minister of lying. So they say, well, he lied because he can't show the cabinet conclusion detailing that. Right? But here it is. They know that the cabinet conclusion is a confidential document. You can't set the precedence that when somebody says, show the cabinet conclusion, you just go and you show it. This thing is a confidential thing. Then international governments, they would not want to do business with Grenada because that is where it's done at the cabinet level. So you don't just go take in a cabinet conclusion and put it out there. But the Polish gentleman with the receipt, with the documents where he transferred the money into those accounts, that was published because he wanted the public to know that yes, he did transfer this amount of money into the NNP South St. George account and this amount of money into the government of Grenada account. Because he wanted his diplomatic passport, right? And the NDC came into government. It's a new party, a new government, right? A new government. And they don't sell diplomatic passports. They don't trade in diplomacy. And they then turn around and say to this guy, well, no, we did not collect any money from you. We did not enter into any agreement with you. It was the NNP administration who entered into an agreement with you to sell you a diplomatic passport. But government change now. You're not going to be able to get any diplomatic passport. So then the guy demanded his money back. And you ask the NNP South St. George office, did you return that 140,000 US to that gentleman? Did they really return it? You see? But to the NNP supporter, they don't care about that. That could be done on a daily basis. They don't care. But in fact, if it's done now under the NDC, they would make a big noise about it. They would say all kind of stuff about the NDC. Because that's how they program the NNP supporters to think, to function, to operate. You see? You have to understand all of this, you know. The two supporters, the NNP versus the NDC, a lot of wrongdoing could happen under the NNP administration, and they see nothing wrong with that. When Keith Mitchell, right, came out and said, he used words to the effect, it's his damn money, and he didn't get more and that kind of thing, when he went to St. Maurice, Switzerland or wherever, you know, and he claimed that it's money that he spent and whoever gave him back and that kind of stuff. What's to that effect? Those NNP supporters were jumping and they had no problem with that. They had no problem with that. But if an NDC minister of government does that, boy, it will be talk for thy kingdom come. You understand the point? But I'm saying all of this to say to you, you have to understand the two type, right, of supporters. NNP and NDC. They hold NDC to a higher standard. They measure NDC differently. The NNP could do all kind of stupidness. The NNP administration. All kind of wrong things. All kind of stupidness. All kind of bubble. All kind of misappropriation. All kind of scandal. All kind of corruption. The NNP administration could do this and get away with it. Let the NDC do a similar thing. Let the NDC do a similar thing and it will be the talk of the tongue. It will be on every news station, every newspaper, every program, because that is what the NNP administration is known for. And they have their people in different circles in Grenada, different areas, who waiting for the NDC to make some blunder or make some mistake. And they're going to run this thing for weeks and months, weeks and months. But when you look at the NNP administration and what they did, man, they see no problem in that. You have to understand the two type of supporters, right? Two types of supporters, NNP, NDC, and how they function, how they think, how they do things. You have to understand them, right? Very, very important, because something that's wrong logically to a reasonable person will be right for NNP. Remember, NNP supporters used to say they don't have a problem in who and who go and thief, as long as they get a little portion out of it. Yeah, and NP supporters used to say they don't have a problem in, let's say, a prime minister or a minister thieving, right? Thieving 5 million. As long as they get 1,000 out of it, they have no problem with that. Or $500, or maybe a drink. Maybe a drink of rum they get out of it, or something to eat. They have no problem with that. They used to say that, and they don't care if that NNP or if that minister of government, right, under the NNP administration, they don't care if that minister of government go and thief their sister stuff or their neighbor stuff or their friend stuff, as long as they thief it and they give them a little thing in it. That's how the NNP supporters think. That's how they function. They're just different. Different. So you have to understand them. Understand them very well. Because that is what they do. That is how they thrive. That is how they survive. That's how it is. And I've always maintained that. That's how these people function. An NDC supporter will be concerned. An NDC supporter will say, go back and give the man the thing, don't take the man thing. Don't thief the man money. Don't thief the man this. They're going to be concerned about that. Right? But not the NNP supporter. That is why you're seeing what's happening there. And one person could dominate that politics and that organization, in my belief, because their standards are different. The bar is so low with the NNP, and the bar is so high for the NDC. It's just different people. I'm saying all of this to say to the people who are at a policy level, ministers of government and so on, you have to know the difference. You have to know the difference. Because to an NNP supporter, all they need is some board, right? Some wood. All they need is some hamper. All they need is a little road walk. All they need is the name to go on the poor relief assistance program. All they need is basic. A rum, a drink of rum. Basic, that's all they need. And you would have them, meaning the NNP will have them forever. That can happen with an NDC supporter. It's different. And that is why Grenada was held back for 20-something years, stuck, not moving anywhere, nothing much happening, but the NNP winning over and over and over and over. How are they winning? Simple strategy. Simple strategy. And these supporters are still existent. They still exist among us, in our communities, within our constituencies. They still exist. Don't believe that they're gone and you can usher in a new type of politics that will change them suddenly. No. You have to go to some of these people and still give them X and give them Y and give them this and give them that for them to support you and like you. You have to. Right? So they call programs every day. The same set, same cadre of callers, and complain and grind and groan, and that's what they do. That's how they function. Because when NNP was in power, the NNP administration I'm referring to, it was you go in the constituency office, you beg for $100, you're getting it. You beg for some gas change, you're getting it. You beg for some material assistance. But it was not money that coming directly from these people's pocket, you know. Taxpayers' money was used under the NNP administration to feed the NNP supporters, in my belief, to take care of these people. The supporters who are supporting the NNP administration. So they were using taxpayers' money for political expediency, in my belief, over the many, many years. And that kept them there for a long time. So you have to understand the two supporters, the NNP, the NDC, and how they think, how they function, their likes and dislikes, what you could catch them with easily. It's like you're in a relationship, right? Or let's put it simple. You go to an event, you have the NNP supporter, a woman, an NNP supporter, she's a woman, right? She's female. And you have the NDC supporter, a woman. You go to the NNP supporter and you tell them, well, look, you're a big work, you have a lot of cars, you have land, you have a lot of money. You're telling them that. That's words. So you're lying for them. And you will be able to go and sleep with that NNP supporter. And it will take some time for you to discover that you're lying for her. Then you go to the NDC woman supporter and you tell her the same thing. She would say, well, show me now. Show me the houses. Show me the land. Show me the cars and so on you say you have. Demonstrate that you have the money and so on. The NDC supporter is more critical, more evidence-based, more in-depth. They want to see certain things. You would spend 6 months going out on dates and all kind of different things before you could actually sleep with that woman. But the NNP supporter and woman there, within no time, you lie for her and you catch her. That's how you have to understand the two, the NNP supporter and the NDC supporter. You have to understand them. If you don't understand them, you're getting yourself tired because the NNP supporter would lie. They're going to pretend. The NNP supporter, they're very good at pretending to get support and get you to give them this and make you believe that they're on your side. Trick you just for them to survive the period, the 5 years. They want to survive that 5 years. They want to live good and eat good and da-da-da-da-da. They will lie for you. Right? They're very good at that. So you have to know them. You have to understand them. If you don't understand them, you're in problem. They could trick you easily. They come around and they play as though they like what you're doing. And no, they want to live nice. They want to survive. They want to keep it. Yeah. It's what it is. It is what it is. And you have to understand the two difference. You have to understand the NNP and the NDC supporters, or else you're in problem. Right? But folks, I thought I should share that so you get a greater understanding. Because outside there, you for an NNP supporter, wrong is right. As long as it's NNP and who within there doing these things. Right? Totally different with an NDC supporter. But folks, I want to wish you all the best. Have a wonderful Sunday. Have a wonderful Sunday. Let me just play a little piece of that Carriacou Maroon ad there for you.
Carriacou Maroon and String Band Music Festival 2024, April 26th to the 28th. Coming together to preserve and showcase our culture is who we are. Friday the 26th, Salute at the Chapel. Early morning libation, 3 p.m. Saraka, 7 p.m. the official opening ceremony and cultural evening. Saturday from 10 a.m. Hillsborough Square. It's Strings in the City. Then at 8 p.m. we move to the Botanical Gardens for Cultural Explosion with local and regional performances featuring Touch the Band. Admission $60. Then on Sunday it's the grand finale, Paradise Beach. From 12 noon, musical entertainment, and from 4 p.m. Paradise Beach events, cultural entertainment, and live music. Admission $20. Come along to dance the quadrille and big drum on Paradise Beach every Sunday after the launch until the festival ends. Kirikou Maroon and